So, in 31 years of Cleveland Browns history, from 2020 dating back to 1989, which was the last year that we've seen a Cleveland Browns team be one of the final four teams in the NFL in a conference championship game. That game is remembered as the fumble game for the Cleveland Browns. I think the drive happened that game as well for John Elway and the Denver Broncos. Cleveland, from that moment until 2020, when they won their first playoff game since that conference championship game, a lot of things went right. They got a good coach in Kevin Stefanski. They got a good defense led by guys, or not great. They got a decent defense led by guys like Denzel Ward, Myles Garrett. They've got options at the wide receiver position with Jarvis Landry. But the most important thing that happened to the Cleveland Browns in that 31-year stretch until they won that playoff game in 2020, and granted, that game was against a really bad Pittsburgh Steelers team, they got Baker Mayfield. They got the quarterback position right. And I hate to throw Tyrod Taylor under the bus because I think what he did for my favorite team in the Houston Texans over this last year can't go understated. But if Cleveland had gone with Tyrod Taylor, and remember, Hugh Jackson is the coach at this time when they have Tyrod Taylor and they have Baker Mayfield. Not only do the Cleveland Browns not win a playoff game last year, not only do they have one of the best potential units in the NFL, they're still picking at the top of the draft. They're getting nowhere near having a chance of winning a Super Bowl. And yes, Baker Mayfield is a quarterback that you can win a Super Bowl with. I wholeheartedly believe that. If you can get to the Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo and you can get to the Super Bowl with Jared Goff, you could win a Super Bowl with Baker Mayfield. I wholeheartedly believe that. But that's not the point of this video. The point is the Cleveland Browns are making a huge mistake with this position of trading for Deshaun Watson, who still is not 100% clear of the legal troubles, and on the field is not as valuable of a player as people make him out to be. This shows that the Cleveland Browns are not willing to, I guess, get it from the ground and build it into what they want it to be. They decided that as soon as it was convenient for them to try to make a big splash move and move on from a guy who brought them out of the depths of NFL hell, the second that it got difficult for them, they switched up and are casting Baker Mayfield as the scapegoat and throwing him to the side. They're not accounting for the fact that their defense has never been top 10 while Baker has been there. Nick Chubb, who, even though I think is one of the better running backs in the NFL, let's call it how like it is, he's been injured off and on throughout the past few seasons. Jarvis Landry is not a number one receiver. Odell Beckham Jr. tore his ACL after he got to Cleveland. David Njoku has been one of the biggest tight end busts of my lifetime. The offensive line, even though it's good, has not had incredible top-tier play over the past few seasons. A lot of this reminds me of the Carson Wentz situation in Indianapolis. However, it's worse for Cleveland because Carson Wentz didn't end a 31-year drought for the Indianapolis Colts. Baker Mayfield did. And again, admittedly, that was against a Pittsburgh Steelers team that was really bad and did not deserve to be in the playoffs. However, Baker Mayfield not only exceeded expectations as the number one pick, even though he does have turnover issues, I will admit. He's the only quarterback in 31 years to do for Cleveland what he did. And like I said, as soon as it gets difficult and as soon as they are looked in the face with pure issues on their team that need to be fixed, let's be real, quarterback was not the one position on this team that needed to be fixed. Their defense like I said, has not been incredible over the past few years. 21st in turnovers last year, 13th in points allowed, 22nd in passing touchdowns, 12th in rushing yards per attempt, 23rd in turnover percentage. Like, their defense has not been great, and it's Baker Mayfield's issue. With teams that they needed to compete against last year, they competed and won games in part because of the play of Baker Mayfield. They were competitive with Green Bay down the stretch. They were competitive with Baltimore. They were competitive with Kansas City to start the year, with the Chargers. There's little to no games last year, except for New England and except for the game against Arizona, where they were not competitive. That's something that you can't really quantify, but you need to have it at the quarterback position. Someone who's going to compete every single time. Trading for Deshaun Watson, a guy who literally sat out the entire year last year on his own. Remember, he was not going to be benched because of the legal issues last year. He was not going to be. He decided not to show up. He did not show up. And you're putting that guy in place because he thinks the franchise isn't going in the direction that he wants it to go. What's he going to do in Cleveland when it's more than likely going to be a lot more difficult than it was in Houston? Because Houston gave Deshaun Watson everything that he could have asked for. They gave him a contract that was similar, if not more money, than what Patrick Mahomes was getting, which afterwards Patrick Mahomes got a bigger contract. But Deshaun Watson got given everything in Houston. And if it sounds like I'm bitter, I am, because that's my favorite team. My favorite team gave Deshaun Watson everything that he could have asked for in terms of a monetary standpoint. And in terms of, yeah, they traded DeAndre Hopkins. So what? If you're a top-tier quarterback, if you're an Aaron Rodgers, if you're a Russell Wilson, if you're in his time a Peyton Manning, if you're a Tom Brady, if you're right now a Josh Allen, a Justin Herbert, if you're one of these top guys, you take your situation and you make the most of it, which is exactly what Baker Mayfield already proved he could have done or is capable of doing in Cleveland. He proved that he's capable of ending a 31-year drought for the Cleveland Browns in terms of a playoff win drought. And again, as soon as it got difficult for them, they're going to ship him off. I don't think it's right. I don't think it's going to be a move that we look at in 5 years and is going to be favorable for the Cleveland Browns. And again, they still have holes on their team that need addressed. And they're just going to try to slap job it together with Deshaun Watson, who, again, the legal issues are not cleared up. His play on the field is not going to be as valuable to the Cleveland Browns as it was with Baker Mayfield. And they're not going to be a good team next year. I'm sorry, Cleveland. Maybe you'll win 10 games. Maybe you'll even win a playoff game, but you're not winning a Super Bowl with Deshaun Watson as your quarterback. You're not doing it. And I would go as far as to say that Baker Mayfield gives them a better shot at winning a Super Bowl than Deshaun Watson does, because at least with Baker Mayfield, he's seen it. He knows what he's doing in that offense. Deshaun Watson's not going to know what he's doing. And that's going to be a huge issue for Cleveland going forward, especially because they just guaranteed him $250 million fucking dollars.